Have you seen those new Phoenix Lights photos floating around out there? Well, it's exciting. 1997, there are very few visuals. Now all of a sudden these new photographs show up. Is this a new piece of the puzzle? Well, I reached out to the actual eyewitness, got an interview, which you're about to see, but then started digging into the photos themselves. I contemplated whether or not I was even going to do this video, but at the end of the day, I want you guys to see the lengths that sometimes you have to go to verify the story. And even going through all those lengths, sometimes you can't come up with a viable conclusion. Now, a lot of you may comment below, this is an outright hoax, based on what I'm about to show you. Others will say purely coincidental, and support it, saying this is new evidence. What am I saying? I'm not saying anything. But this was my journey today to try and uncover the truth behind these photos. And I just simply couldn't do it. So I'm going to throw all of this out to you for you to decide. And make sure you put your comments below, give a thumbs up for the video, and make sure you subscribe to the channel as you are about to go beyond the Black Vault. Hey everybody, John Greenwald here. Thank you so much for tuning in and taking this journey beyond the Black Vault with me. Now, we are going all the way to the social media network known as Reddit. Now, I know some of you may not be familiar with what Reddit is. It's kind of like Facebook, Twitter, just a different type of social network. I'm sure some of you Redditors just cringed that I compared it to Twitter and or Facebook. But again, just in the general sense, it is a social network platform. People come together, start talking. And there is one particular subreddit, the UFOs subreddit, which you will find me in there quite a bit. A lot of great people in there, and a new thread had started in the last day or two from the recording of this of new photographs. These photographs were allegedly from the 1997 Phoenix Lights incident. Now, that's a case that has intrigued me for quite some time. In fact, I started the Black Vault in 1996, so the Phoenix Lights essentially was right there in the forefront of me doing what I do with the Freedom of Information Act. And my connection to the Phoenix Lights story is I tried to get Luke Air Force Base to admit that they were the ones that dropped the flares. And in fact, they gave me a written response that they did not drop the flares and had no idea where that original story came from. Now, it's morphed over the years. There was some classified mission with the Maryland National Guard that dropped. Well, be that as it may, whatever you might think about it, there are very few visuals from this case. There were two separate incidents that night, one in approximately the 8:30 time frame, and the second, the 10 o'clock time frame in the timetable there in Phoenix. So there were two separate incidents, which not many people realize about that particular case. Well, this particular thread and these new photos ultimately ended up two that were posted on Reddit, or at least two that I saw anyway. I was intrigued by it. I wanted to reach out because at first glance, they didn't seem fake to me. They didn't seem like a hoax, and generally you can peg them pretty quick. But I didn't put a whole lot of time into, let's call it a forensic analysis of the photos. I saw that Reddit was already doing that, and I didn't want to essentially taint, so to speak, my thought or my process to try and figure out, is this witness hoaxing? Because I was really intrigued by the photographs, just to be blunt with you. So I skipped all that noise and I went right to the witness, reached out to them. They responded and I said, hey, if you have a couple minutes, can you call me? So I gave my toll-free line. They called in. We had a nice chat. I then asked, would they be interested in doing an interview, which you're about to see in the next couple of minutes. Now, prior to doing that interview, I did very little, again, we'll call it forensic analysis on the photographs. I wanted to talk to the witness. I wanted to kind of feel this out. I wanted to see what they were saying, how they were with questions, so on and so forth. I do that a lot. I don't like to have a preconceived notion. Let's say I find little red flags in the forensic analysis of images or photos, or I read what somebody else says and I go, aha, they're a hoaxer, and I haven't even talked to the person. So what you're about to see are the photos that were sent to me by the witness. Now, there are 4 of them that the witness sent me. Now, I'm going to go through all 4 of them so you can see them. This was the first. Here's your second. Here's your third. And there's the fourth. seemingly identical to the one prior. Now we'll get to that in just a minute. But I want to show you guys the actual interview. Now keep in mind, when I conducted this interview, no forensic analysis. You guys may be a little bit aware now with Reddit exploding on analyzing these photos a little bit. Keep in mind, I recorded that interview prior to really diving in, because again, I wanted more of that, just more sincere interaction without having the taint of internet noise and rumors and allegations and all that stuff. So here is my interview with the witness. Here it is. So joining me on the phone right now is Andrew. Now, he is the witness who posted the photograph that kind of started me getting interested in this and reaching out to him. And in turn, he sent me the original 4 photographs that he took. Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to speak with me.
No problem.
So I really appreciate your time. So I want to just dive into what you remember. I mean, truth be told, we both know it's been quite some time since the event in 1997. So I don't expect you to remember every single detail. But I want to start with a question before we dive into that I think is probably on many people's minds. Have you released these photos before, or is this the first time that you've ever posted them or released them?
No, this was the first time I released them. I had totally forgot about them.
Gotcha.
And I saw something on TV, it was the news or something, and they mentioned the Phoenix Lights, and I thought, oh yeah, I remember I have those photos. And that's what jogged my memory to remember that I took them.
Gotcha. And that was recently you saw something on TV that jogged your memory?
Yeah, it was the news or something talking about the Phoenix Lights and then what's going on with the government and UFOs.
Now, correct me.
I was like, oh, I got photos like that.
After the event in 97, just out of curiosity, wasn't there a lot of publicity locally? Now, I'm Southern California born and raised. Yes, we heard about it, but I don't know how much was bantered about on the news at the time in Phoenix. Was there not a whole lot of coverage, or did you just not see anything at the time?
I did not pay attention. I come from a really religious background, and we really didn't pay attention to stuff like that. You know, we always thought, oh, it's just hogwash or whatever.
I gotcha.
So I didn't pay attention to it. I just kind of blocked it out, I guess. I don't know. And it just wasn't important to me at the time in that place in my life.
Gotcha. Okay. So let me take you back to that night. You posted these photographs, or you sent 4 to me. I think I heard that you may have posted a couple more on Reddit, which is where you originally posted. But you had sent me the 4 original photos. Let me take you back to that night. What do you remember when you captured these photos?
I remember I was in the parking lot. I was doing a security guard at that time. That was my job.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to go to specific spots for our security. We had to be at certain areas at certain times. So I had to really pay attention to the time of, you know, I had to be at this area at one time and this area at another time because my boss was really strict. So, parking lot, and I remember just, you know, doing my rounds looking for damage on the property, graffiti, things like that. And we had to carry a camera with us just in case we found something like that, because then we had to document it in our reports at the end of our shift.
Okay. And
so we had to take pictures of anything damaged or whatever. And I remember looking up and seeing like a couple of lights, and they were moving around. They weren't moving fast, but they weren't like lined up in the V shape yet. They were just kind of up there, and I thought those can't be planes because they're way too close to each other. That, you know, they'd be hitting each other.
So you're a Arizona native, right? So obviously you see a lot of airplane traffic.
Yeah, I was born and raised here, and you can see when the planes are coming into the valley. You know, they're so far apart, you know, because they're landing at Sky Harbor. This wasn't nothing like that. These were too close together, and there was no sound, you know, so I knew they couldn't be helicopters because I didn't hear any sound. It's actually eerily quiet then.
And so you take the first photograph in the sequence per the metadata was the photograph, and I've shown them here on the channel in this video, but that was the one of the 4 where they were not in formation. So when you
they were not in formation. They were moving like they were moving towards each other or getting ready to do something, and I was like, it's like, what is that? You know?
And you felt that they were all, each individual light represented a different craft. As some witnesses said, they felt the triangle when they saw it was one complete craft, but you felt that they were obviously all independent craft that you were looking at.
I think they were independent from what I saw, and it didn't seem like a big giant craft. They seemed to be moving all independently. And then once they got in like a formation, which was like a V, then they moved together. And what I'm going to describe it is almost like when you see in Arizona, we get the geese going by every, that time of year,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all flying in a V. That's what they were like. They were like moving in a V together all at once. Like they had finally all come together, and then they were, let's just move together,
Mm-hmm. And how long do you recall watching this?
Oh, it wasn't very long. I think maybe 5-6 minutes total.
Okay.
I think. But that was so long ago. I know I didn't have a lot of time to sit there and stare at it. It was like, here, let's take these pictures.
Yeah.
And then I like forgot about them. It wasn't something I was focused on too much.
Yeah,
it was something interesting at the time.
I understand. So you snapped a couple pictures. The metadata shows that just that. I mean, it kind of confirms you watched it for at least the photographs anyway. Took the 4 photographs over approximately 4 or 5 minutes or so per what the photographs show. Let me ask you, do you recall if you had like a tripod set up? Was this just you raised your hand and took a photo? How did that happen?
No, it was just me holding my hands up. I did a lot of artwork, and for a lot of years, I drawing and stuff like that. So I had pretty steady hands. So I just held them up and braced myself as good as I can. I think I was leaning against the wall, and just took them like that. There was no tripod.
Because what was interesting with a couple of the photographs, I mean, the background was it looked like nearly identical, and this thing was going across. I mean, so were you just standing in the exact same spot?
Yeah, I was holding as still as I possibly could, because I think at the time I thought if I don't get these still, then they're not going to come out right, because you even moved an inch and they kind of got blurry, the lights did.
Mm-hmm. And you just took the 4 that you sent me, or are there additional ones?
You're cutting out.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
So were there the 4 photographs that you sent me? Are there additional ones or just those 4?
No, there's just those 4.
Gotcha.
The ones I posted on Reddit I got those off of my phone, and they were really bad quality.
Okay.
And I threw them up there just like, people might find these interesting. I didn't think they were going to be that big of a deal. If I would have thought they were going to be such a big deal, I would have got the originals off the computer and put them up there, because they were actually good quality.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, good quality as they could be for such an old camera.
And so the ones you sent me it seems like the raw photographs. Or are you saying that there were additional copies you just don't
Those
have?
are the raw ones, the original ones.
Gotcha.
That were pulled off the...
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
those are the original.
So you were obviously on the clock. You watched this thing for about 5 minutes. It seems like you obviously forgot about it and didn't want to, either call the news station, because people were calling the news station, taking their photos and visuals, and there's not that many. I think that's the intrigue behind this. But you just kind of forgot it for a little bit. Here we are in 2021. You post them. I want to take a moment and ask you about the reaction that you got. You chose Reddit to post it, so obviously you're a Redditor and use Reddit as a social media network. What was your reaction from those in the UFOs subreddit where you posted them? I'm not sure if you posted them elsewhere, but what was the reaction like?
My reaction was I got quite a few messages of hate and anger. It's, I guess it's a sensitive topic, People were angry.
Mm-hmm. And
So, it is what it is. I didn't think people were going to get so mad about it, or else I would have probably not posted them in the first place because I didn't need the drama.
yeah, no, I understand. And so that's why you chose, if you don't mind me bringing this up, you wanted to do this via telephone versus video for that reason, that there was concern. So the response was that vicious over you posting a couple photographs.
Yeah,
from
they were,
97?
people saying they hate me, and I just didn't feel safe if I would have did, a face interview, because people can be crazy sometimes,
Right. No, I've seen that quite a few times, sadly. And you were accused of faking these, right, by people?
Yeah, I was, but like I said, if I wanted to fake it, I wouldn't have used my 10-year account, I would have just made a throwaway account and used that.
Yeah, no, I got you.
But I had nothing to hide.
Was there a reason, and I'm genuinely curious, was there a reason why people were accusing you this? I mean, everything from my perspective seemingly checked out. You seem like a genuine guy. You didn't ask me for money to come on this show. You obviously don't want your visual exposure, meaning like, hey, get my face on whatever YouTube channel or television program. That obviously isn't it. Again, there's been no financial anything for not only this interview, but it doesn't look like you're selling the photos. My only thing that I wanted to ask you about was that the background of the photos was seemingly, identical. But if you were standing in the same spot with a steady hand, you feel that explains that aspect to it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that was thrown your way that you want to address?
At first, the reaction was really positive. I was like, wow, I'm glad that people find these interesting,
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until it started getting momentum that people showed interest, that then people started to come in and like, oh, I want to debunk this or whatever, which that's fine. That's, some people want to do that, but
yeah,
they kind of took it a little bit too far.
Sure. Yeah. And that's why I wanted you to have an opportunity to address that, because this plays a role, it seems like, with witnesses coming forward. I mean, if you knew that was going to be...
it's going to make people not want to do it, because they're going to see, well, this is what happened to Joe Schmo.
Yeah.
I don't want to be treated like that, so it might scare people off from showing what they've seen or found, showing their experience.
Gotcha. Well, my last question to you, and then I'll let you go. Now, in retrospect, looking back, what do you feel that you witnessed that night?
Honestly, I'm still skeptical. I witnessed some lights in the sky. I don't know what they were. I'm not going to say they're aliens. I'm not going to say they're flares. I just don't know.
I gotcha.
It is what it is. I'll believe once we actually have some non-blurry photos that are facts from credible sources,
Yeah.
So they are what they are. They're photos of strange lights in the sky.
Are you into the UFO topic now? Are you familiar with there's a lot going on with UFOs lately, and they're all over the news.
The last couple of weeks I've been watching, after hearing what they've been saying on TV and what they said. But after my experience with this, it's kind of going to scare me away, because I'm going to be like, well, the community's not that great. So
yeah. Well, I hope that the reaction to this video will hopefully change your mind. And also, I want to be fair to that Reddit sub. Even though we focused on some of the negative, you got an overwhelming positive result from posting the photo. So I do hope that you recognize that. I mean, the upvotes.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of good positive people.
Yeah.
At the beginning, there was a lot.
Yeah, and that's what I want to. That's what I want.
The negative voices are louder than the positive.
Sure. But I at least wanted to point out to my audience as well. I mean, Reddit is not full of people that just attack. But obviously, even the minority, the small percentage that come after you for posting a photograph, obviously is much louder than the 99% that was like, hey man, this is really cool. Hey, thank you. And trust me, I have fallen victim to that myself. It's always that the louder, but albeit minority voices are always the ones that resonate. So that said, Andrew, I want to say thank you again for taking the time and bringing these photographs forward. I'm sure there will be a lot of people that will point out every little pixel that might be out of place or whatever and want to solve this. But regardless, it's a great story. I appreciate you taking the time. And please, if you're interested in the UFO topic, don't let that minority deter you. Seriously. I mean that. I hate to hear that. You're not the only one I've heard it from. So hopefully, you'll see the positive from this. And if you have a genuine interest, keep at it, because there's some amazing stuff that has happened in the past, but is also unfolding now. So don't get too deterred is my TLDR, summation of what I just said.
Okay.
All right, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So that was the interview. Now, keep in mind, I did that before any type of forensic analysis again on those photographs. I wanted to be able to talk to the witness, feel it out, see what he had to say, and kind of go from there. Now, after the video, after we recorded that together, I went ahead and started digging into those photographs even deeper. Now, I'm going to summarize the next, I would say, over the course of a couple hours, going back and forth with not only the witness, but also someone who I want to give a shout out to, who is Mick West. Now, I know he calls himself a debunker. He's very much a debunker. And I know with that, well, it comes with kind of a bad rap. But Mick is a friend of this show, and he is incredibly knowledgeable. I may not agree with everything that he has to say, but incredibly knowledgeable on so many fronts. So I reached out to Mick privately and said, okay, look, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm looking at. This is who I'm talking to. Here are the photos. And credit to him for seeing right up front that the file naming structure was like if you downloaded the photos from Facebook. And he was able to see that right away. Now, I kind of wrongfully thought that was a camera structure that maybe Facebook utilized the same similar type of method. But no, it looks like that Mick was absolutely right, that Facebook gives these long file names and the way that they download these or when you download these photos, that the way that they're named. So again, to summarize, because I don't want to make this a 12-hour long video, went back and forth with the witness saying, okay, your file names are reflective of Facebook. Did you download them from Facebook, or how did that happen? And he said that yesterday he wanted to share it with some family, that he uploaded them to Facebook. My question was, if that was the case, then did he just then re-download them and send them to me? And it sounds like that is what happened. There's a huge red flag with that, though. And let me show you what I mean by that. Now, as I'm kind of jumping through the story, because again, I don't want to bore you with every step, I got him to eventually then send me the quote-unquote original direct from the camera, or so he thinks, direct from the camera, so to speak. And those file names were much more indicative of the, let's call it like the file naming convention of a camera. So I'm going to pull up a directory tree here. These 4 photos up top, those are what he originally sent me with the Facebook file naming structure. And so that's where Mick said, hey, these look like they're from Facebook. What I got here with these 4 are from apparently the camera. So I'm going to focus on these and the metadata. I'm going to point out a red flag up front. When you actually upload a photo to Facebook, which is according to him, it sounds like these photographs were downloaded from and resent to me. When you do that, metadata is essentially stripped. Yet when you look at these names, I'm not sure if you can see that on your screen here, but it says March 13th, 1997, 8:26 p.m. Now, that actually is really intriguing because that matches the Phoenix Lights incident, mainly the first one, which is the more intriguing one. Yet this shouldn't be there if these were downloaded from Facebook. So essentially, was that fake. And if you see here, I can change that to 1996. That's how easy it is, essentially. So then when I check it again, and I think I just canceled it, but when I check it again, let me try that one more time. 1996. Apply that. Check it again. It sticks. So that's although a great indicator if a picture is legit, it can also easily be faked. You can see I easily did that just through Windows. Now, does that negate the whole thing? And I'm going to let you guys decide, because as I said up top, I have no idea at this point, because the witness seems very genuine. They have their story. They're sticking to it. And in fact, they told me, hey, if you don't feel comfortable with this, please don't. I mean, he obviously was attacked and did not want that on other people. And, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt here, but I'm pointing these red flags out. I did ask the witness about this, and he says that he has no idea what metadata is and has no idea what the file metadata or whatever would reflect. He has no idea. He just maintained that he took these from the original camera. And when I asked him to send me the originals, it did take a time or two to essentially say, okay, what you dropped onto Facebook, that's what I want. And that's what these 4 are. So did he, again, falsify that? I don't know. I mean, it would be such a shame if he did and waste everybody's time. But for what? I mean, he didn't get any money from me. He's not getting any recognition name-wise. I decided to pull his name just because I don't want him to essentially be attacked. If he hoaxed it or not, I just don't want to be the root of people tracking him down or anything like that. So I pulled his last name. But other than that, it was no big request like, hey, you got to give me full credit. On the opposite, I was the one that said, hey, how do you want to be credited? So none of this really was essentially at the forefront of what you would usually see from a hoaxer. So let's get away from the Facebook stuff. Let me go ahead and pull in some of the metadata from the original camera photos. Now, this is a site that's called Photo Forensics. Essentially what this is you can pull in photographs. You can see all of the metadata attached. Can it be faked? Anything can be faked, to be honest with you. So, is this a absolute 100% definitive these are real? Absolutely not. But it did add a little bit more to the story, which I will go over here. This was the first photograph that was taken in the sequence of the metadata. So should that not be faked, you can see that it was March 13th, 1997 at 8:23. That's PM. The camera is what's called an LDC F20 or from LG. Now let me show you a picture of it. That's what it looked like, checked out time frame wise. Here's another photograph of one of those models. And so I sent a picture of this camera to the witness, and I said, hey, is this the camera you were using? Because if they really weren't sure about metadata, they may or may not know where I got this from. And they weren't sure. They said that they thought that maybe it was a Toshiba or Fuji or something else, but that it possibly could have been an LG. But this is obviously going back to 1997. Here's where I'm also trying to give the benefit of the doubt. If this was a hoaxer and you were trying to set up this metadata to reflect that they took and used this particular camera, on the off chance that I would figure that out and send a picture of the camera used, you'd think that the hoaxer would go, oh yeah, that's exactly the camera I was using, and solidify that aspect of the story. But on the opposite end, no, they didn't. They weren't really sure. Rattled their brain a little bit because of the time that it's been since 1997. Couldn't give me a definitive answer. This was the second photograph in that sequence. This one at 8:24. According to his story, if you recall, this is how he originally saw it, not in a triangle formation, then ended up starting to get into a triangle formation. This next picture, you can see it jumps from there to there. Metadata shows 8:26 p.m. is when it was taken. Okay, so that's the third. The fourth in the sequence, you're going to notice something very different. You see here, there's the third photo, the fourth. Third photo, the fourth. What happens? Absolutely nothing changes. This one was 825. Now, I have these two reversed chronologically, so I'm going to apologize to you there. Didn't realize. But regardless, these are, let me switch it here, 1 minute apart. My point remains, though. You can see going back from 825 to 826, 825, 826, nothing changes. And so what happens now is, why are these two the same? And the question mark is, I really don't know. Again, a benefit of the doubt, because if you're going to go to this length to hoax something, would they have made a mistake to give you the same exact photo with one difference? And I'll explain that in a second. Change the metadata, change everything to a minute after. All for what? The same exact photo? Doesn't make sense. And so I asked them about this, and they had no idea. Now, this is 1997 technology. Again, just to throw it out there, maybe there was some kind of malfunction. A photo was taken, but the data from 825 was written on the next photograph in the sequence, and all of the metadata was updated, but the data was not. According to the witness, that camera that took the photos was incredibly beat up and battered, and they essentially would drop it all the time. It was just a work thing. So was this a malfunction of some kind? Absolutely a possibility. I am not sure. Let me go ahead and pull up what I mean by the essential difference in these. Hold on one second. This is Photoshop. These are the two last photographs in the sequence that are not the repeat ones. So where the triangle goes from one to the other. What I did was I laid them together, put them top by top, and matched up the items in the frame other than the alleged UFO. So these street lights. Change the opacity so that way they layer. And you can see as I make one disappear, although the noise gets sharper, the noise is the same. Now, what's the explanation for that? Now, the noise is all that stuff back here. And when you make one disappear, let me show you. Let me put them back to the way they were, so overlapped. When you click it off, although the noise sharpens from one photo to the next, it is identical. Now, it's going to be hard to see that over YouTube. Let me see if I can zoom it in here. Bring back that other layer. And you can see here, focus on right this area here. Okay, this is this is one photo. When I add in the other photo, it's still there. All the noise when I drop it off is the same. Same deal. Pick another spot, like let's say this spot there. Pull it off, it's still there. Essentially, again, all of these little noise bits are the same. Now, what does that mean? It's possible that if it is fake, they use the same background template, put a UFO here, exported it, put a UFO here, exported it. There's your two frames. The noise would all match. UFO seemingly is moving. They changed the metadata, changed the file naming structure. Absolutely a possibility. Did that happen here? Maybe there's some other technical explanation. What that is, this is why I'm throwing it out to you guys, because I'm not knowledgeable enough to go, well, this is a 100% definitive no way. In 1997 technology, is it possible that that noise would go from one to the next photograph? And again, I don't think so, but I am not any type of 1997 LG camera expert there, so there's really no way for me to tell. But hopefully you guys can see what I'm talking about there. Now, what was I also talking about the two identical photos? And I'll point that out. Give me 1 second. See if I can get them back up here. Okay, so these were the last two in the sequence, the 825, 826 photos. They are identical. So I'm going back and forth. You can see one huge difference there on YouTube. I bet you can see that. Okay, that's a lens flare. Okay, so I'm going back and forth. That is the only difference. Everything else is the same. noise, lights, everything is positioned the exact same. But you have this right here. You have what seems to be another lens flare from here. So this connects to that. This connects to that. And then the other one is right here above the tree line, likely from that. But why does it appear in one photo and not the next? Is this potentially a mistake? Hoaxer made 2 photographs, made it a little bit more authentic, doing different passes and so on, had some lens flare added digitally. Possible. But the fact that the UFO itself does not change, huge red flag. But is that a malfunction of this camera that got dropped all the time? The data from the 825 image gets put on the visual side of the 826 image, but the metadata changes. Is that a possibility? Sure, absolutely. I'll let you guys decide. So are these photographs real? I'm going to be honest with you and say I lean towards no. But what keeps me going on this is the witness itself. He did not falter, and I've been hoaxed before in the sense that when I push like this, they essentially just falter and go away. But rather, they kept with it. They sent me the other raw photographs. Did they create new metadata in that process? Sure, absolutely. But let me ask you this. If somebody is that capable of making these types of images and hoaxing everything and understanding how to manipulate metadata, why wouldn't you do that up front? And why would you accidentally use Facebook file naming structures and then later send the original photographs, quote unquote original ones, and add in the other metadata? And why would you have confusion on the actual camera when, if you were hoaxing it, knew exactly what camera you were trying to lead me to believe or anybody? In fact, the witness never brought up metadata at all. In fact, I was the one that reached out to them looking for original photos. And it wasn't long before they wrote me directly and said, here you go. So if they hoaxed it, why wouldn't you just do that all up front? And instead, it became this big, more in-depth story trying to research it. I don't know. If this is all a hoax, well, it's a hoax. I pointed out every red flag that I can see, and I know that Reddit is going even farther and really digging in deep. I will say, in fairness, on one thing, I saw an animation where they tried to say it was a Photoshop, and there was a big blur in this area right here. And that's not in the photos that the witness sent me. So was there compression that was done when it was uploaded to Imgur or Imgur, however you say it, or Reddit or whatever? Was there additional compression and that created an issue? I don't really know. That's why I bypassed all that, went right to the source, got the photographs. So I'm not here to tell you it's real. I'm not here to tell you it's fake. I'm just here to tell you what I found out in this gigantic rabbit hole that I did not expect. I just thought we'd be able to identify that it was real. Essentially, the story would check out. And cool, we've got another angle of the Phoenix lights. Big deal. That would be very cool, but not earth-shattering. But instead, it just kind of turned into this mess. But like I said, I'll let you guys decide. I'm always seeking your thumbs up, sharing the videos. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And the biggest help of all is, of course, sharing these videos if you find them worthwhile. But no matter what, above all else, especially on this video, because I'm not here to tell you what to believe on it, I want to hear your thoughts. Put them down there in the comment section right here on YouTube. This is John Greenwald Jr. signing off, and we will see you next time.